back to my channel, According to Kat. If you are new here, please introduce yourself in the comments below. If you're returning, just say hi. And what are we going to be making today? I am so excited to bring you today's DIYs using Dollar Tree products. I broke apart some wooden crates and I created all three of these. If you want to see how I made them, stay tuned. If you'd like to know what supplies I've used, check out the description box below. And with all that being said, let's get right into the video. DIY number 1, 3-drawer shelf. So the first thing I did was I took these baby shower favors from the Dollar Tree, and you really only need one packet. I was going to make a 4-drawer shelf, but I decided on 3. And I just took off the top of the stroller and I cut off any of those pieces that were connecting it. And I am putting some Mod Podge spray on them just because I feel like it will hold the paint a little better, and I waited for those to dry. While those were drying, I took these 3 wooden boxes from the Dollar Tree, and I was trying to see which ones I wanted to use. That one, the drawer was a little tight, so I put that to the side. Okay, now I'm going to get ready to paint these drawer handles, and I am going to use these disposable oral wipes. I did see Jazz from DIY Home and Crafts use these as a way to dab on her paint. I loved the idea, so I ordered some from Amazon. I will leave the link below. And yes, I absolutely loved using them. I think it created the perfect effect. And yeah, that was a really bad idea. Don't use that to hold it. It was like falling all over the place, but I thought it was a good idea at first. And I am just putting on some Waverly Chalk Paint in Elephant, which is a very dark gray. Now I am taking that same Elephant paint by Waverly. I am putting a dollop in my can, adding some water, and I realized at this point that I added a little too much. I stir it up and it is very watery, but I figured let me give it a chance and see how dark I can get it if I add a couple of coats. But as you see, when I add it on, it is very watery. That's okay. I'm going to wipe it off, and I'm trying to see how dark I can get it. But I go through and I basically give this all a good coat of watered down paint / stain. I do decide to paint the inside, learn from my mistake, and do not paint the inside. And I'm going to tell you why. When you paint the inside, the wood swelled. So opening and shutting the drawers, I can do it, but it definitely isn't as smooth as it was when I first opened them. So yeah, my suggestion is do not paint the inside, and you won't even see it. So yeah, so just paint the rim around it, but don't paint the inside. So I am showing you some parts of the wood where I think it gets some glue or something on it, and it really doesn't take the stain or paint or whatever so well. But I will tell you, some of the sides of the wood is just so different from the other sides. Right there, look at that. Like, you're not going to use that side. So plan that in your head, that where you're going to glue it, and just look for the good sides, and those are the sides you're going to have exposed. So this was my idea. I'm going to use the bottom of these crates as the top for my shelf. It doesn't work out, but that's my original idea. So I'm just going to take this crate from the Dollar Tree. So far, everything has been from the Dollar Tree except for the paint. And I am breaking it all apart. So I thought, okay, let me just get this all broken apart. I will use the bottom for the top of the shelves, and then I'll use these other parts for some other things. But then that didn't really work out. So I thought, I'm going to put everything to the side, but you'll see in a minute, it just, the wood at the bottom kind of cracked there. And then I'm like, well, how am I going to cut that to make it straight? I just wasn't sure how I was going to get it all to work. If I had taken my time breaking it apart, maybe I don't know, maybe I could have used it. So I decided I'm going to use the sides that look like shiplap, but it was not wide enough. So I needed to break apart another box, or I should say a wooden crate, and I'm going to use one more slat for each side, so 2 slats. So I'm going to take the one side and start cutting it apart, and you can see what I'm doing here because I'm doing a really bad job explaining this. So I'm just taking my craft knife and I'm going right down that indentation, that line, cutting that apart, and I will do one more. So each piece will go on each piece. All right, so I just keep working at it and bend it until I can feel it like crack, and there we go. Now I am taking the Dollar Tree sanding sponge and just, smoothing out any rough edges. I love these sanding sponges, but I can't seem to find them anymore. Please let me know in the comments below if Dollar Tree is still carrying them. I will be so disappointed if they are not, because I really do love using them. So I just want to take a moment and tell you about my friend Jackie from Blessed Beyond Measure. She's a viewer friend of mine, and she reached out to me and was telling me that she started her own channel, and I went to check her out and I really loved what I was seeing. She's new to YouTube, but she is really good. I'm recommending you go check her out, and I asked her if she wanted to do a collab with me, and yeah, I'm so excited. Please go check her out. And if you're new here, my name is Kat. I like to make decor on a budget, and yeah, I like to use Dollar Tree. I like to do thrift store makeovers and yard sale makeovers, things like that. So I would love if you would stick around. All right, let's move on. Okay, so I am going to take my Gorilla wood glue, and I am going to now join these slats together. I am taking a piece of a popsicle stick, and I'm just going to run that glue right along the edge, and I will do the same thing for the single slat and just put a little bit on that edge as well. And then I will just join these together, and then I'm going to use these Dollar Tree clips to make sure they are going to stay where I put them and let them dry. I really do like these clips. I mean, you get, 6 or 8 for $1, and you can't beat that. So I think they work pretty well. And now I am just joining the other slats together, putting on my clips, and I will put those to the side to dry as well. That little configuration there worked the best. Now I'm using some jumbo popsicle sticks. I don't know if I got these at Dollar Tree or at Walmart. Everything in this DIY except the paint and glue are from Dollar Tree, but I'm not sure. I think those are the bigger ones, so I believe I got those at Walmart. But you can use the ones at Dollar Tree. You can even use the small ones. You don't even have to do this part. Now, I wanted to hide those flower cutouts because I'm crazy. And even though you won't see them because they'll be on the inside of the drawers, I didn't want to see them at all. So I'm showing you how I am just gluing in those 2 pieces of popsicle stick to hide that. Because I seriously might have some issues. Tell me if you think this is crazy. You won't even see it. I don't know. I can't. So I'm just putting these in, gluing. This is the better way to do it. The other way I was burning my fingers. This was the much easier way. Just put it around the outside of that, put it in, and they are good to go. So now we are going to move back on to the handle pulls now that the first layer of paint dried, and we will continue on to make them look like faux galvanized steel. So now I'm taking my Waverly Chalk Paint in ink, which is a black, and I'm going to dab on a bit of that color. I noticed I did get a little heavy-handed with the black, and once it dried it will lighten up, but then I think I actually go back with a little more of the elephant, which was the dark gray. Yeah, right here I do that, and just to lighten the black up a bit, and I just go back and forth until I get the color I'm looking for. But these steps are still not over, so now I'm going to take my Folk Art Metallic Sterling Silver paint. You can see when it has a little diamond at the top that it is, what is that, iridescent? No, when it shines, what's that called? Doing the, what's that called again? Yeah, it's shiny. Actually, the word I am looking for is metallic, which it really does just say on the bottle. And yeah, I had to look that up. Because I was sitting here, still couldn't think of the word. So yeah. So now I am going back with the gray stain that I made out of the elephant Waverly Chalk Paint and some water, but I do make it a little thicker this time. It was actually what was in there from my next piece, which I made darker, and what was left in there, I just started using that, and then I realized, uh-oh, this isn't going to match the bottom part, so I add a little more water and I just kind of thin that out just a bit. I am doing the underside of the shelf part, which again you really won't see except for the outside, but I'm crazy and I got to do all sections, but you don't need to do that. And now I'm taking that sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree and I am just kind of distressing it a bit because it just got really heavy on there because, like I said, I used a different stain. It's the same stain, but it was just heavier, like thicker, not as watery. And I'm going around the edges, and then I noticed that because there was some glue on the edge there, it wasn't taking the stain that well, so I went back and I kind of just made it a little thicker there. Now I'm taking some hot glue and I'm going to join my pieces together. Now I was very careful about which sections would be on the outside, and I paid attention to that and made sure those looked really good. The rest you won't see because I'm gluing those sections together. So be very cognizant of which parts of the box look the best and put those toward the outside. So I'm gluing on the third box, and you can see I'm lining them up because I don't want any boxes higher than the other ones because it will throw off the top shelf. So now I'm just laying them on, and I'm trying to find where the middle's going to be. And I figure this is going to be really hard, so I'm going to do it this way. I'll take my ruler, mark the middle, make my line so that when I put my hot glue down, I'll see that line and I'll know where to put my first part of the shelf. And now I am ready to hot glue it, and I am just doing the one side first. Put that on, and I will line it right up to that line, and then I'll do the other side. If you would like to use a more permanent glue, you can, but I was okay with just using hot glue and it stayed perfectly fine. I was sure to put the single slat towards the back of the shelf on both sides, and that just made it, I don't know, more uniform, and plus it's going to stick a little bit on the drawers, so that will give it extra support because I only have the wood glue on that thin little piece, so it'll be fine once it is all hot glued together. Now I'm going to take the drawers and I'm going to paint them white. Now I did paint the inside and I painted the drawers. I told you they got a little thicker and harder to pull open just because I painted the inside. You might not want to paint the whole entire shelf. You could paint just the front, but I like a finished product. So yeah, that's why I painted that. I think you'll be okay with that as long as you don't paint the inside of each of those, like the crevices of the drawer. Crevice, that's a great word. The crevices of the drawer. Okay, that was enough rambling there. So now I'm taking these little glass jars that I got from the Dollar Tree, and they are in the Crafter's Square. I keep calling it Crafter's Corner, Crafter's Square, and I am going to make those the feet. But I'll show you in a minute how I'm going to paint those. Now I'm using my Gorilla Super Glue, which dries in 10 seconds, and I do love this stuff. I will link it in my Amazon link below, and I am going to just put a little on the edge. You can see what I'm doing here, and I'm going to hold it very still for 10 seconds. And I'm so careful when I use this glue because I've said it before, if you're not careful, you will get it on your fingertips, and then you can't use your phone because it can't read your fingerprints because you don't have any anymore. It does take them away. So I love this glue, but I don't like getting it on my skin. It makes me crazy. So this is my way of doing it. I'm going to outline underneath. That way, when I'm going on to glue it, I don't have to measure it because you don't have that much time. Or if it sticks and it gets everywhere, this was the best way for me to do it, to make sure they were all uniformed at the same height and centered. Okay, so those two are done, and I did the same thing for the third drawer, and I just glued that right on. I'm taking a stick, and just any excess glue, I'm just kind of wiping off with the stick, just so you won't see it. Now I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum 2X Ultimate Ultra Matte Slate spray paint, which is like a very, very dark gray, and I will paint those little gray glass bottles. I know hot glue won't work as well, so I use the same Super Gorilla Glue, and I put a little bit on each of the bottom of those little glass jars, which is the bottom of the glass jar, and I'm gluing that to the actual shelves. So the lid is going to be what's touching the table, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. And yeah, they're ready to go. And I thought they looked like the cutest little feet. Now I just need to put in the drawers, and here we are at the final look. I hope you like it as much as I do. With you by my side, if you're in, meet me here tonight. Be brave and come along. I'll be your ride. Promise we don't need no brake lights. We can travel the world, so just say yes. Choose to do whatever comes next. Okay, DIY number 2, wood box crate. All right, nothing left to waste. So I am taking the 4 sides of the broken crates, if that makes sense. So all the sides that had those little handles on it, that will be 4 because it was 2 crates, 2 sides to each crate. And yeah, so I have 4 of those, and there's the bottom of one of the crates, and I'm just measuring it out so that it will be the perfect square. And now I'm just going to smooth out any rough edges. I will take some hot glue and the Dollar Tree tumbling blocks, and I'm going to glue that on. It will give it more surface area for the glue to adhere to each other and the 2 pieces to get adhered. Yeah, you see what I'm saying. And there we go. I'm using my Dollar Tree square to make sure that the sides are well 90-degree angles and square. And now I'm going to put in another tumbling block on the other side. Again, it will give me more gluing surface. Just putting that right on, and now I will do, there you go. And this little box is so cute. And again, I'm doing it with the scraps. Don't throw away the scraps. People say, you have so much stuff, why don't you throw that away? No, because you never know when you're going to use it. So I decided to use all that leftover wood from those crates, and I'm going to use it all in these DIYs. And here's the last piece, and I'm going to hot glue that right on. And then we will get ready to glue on the bottom. So easy and so darn cute. And the hot glue worked just fine. It stayed perfectly fine. Now I'm not going to like bang it on the table or anything, but it's holding up just fine. But if you want to use something more permanent, you go right ahead. All right, so now I'm just taking that hot glue, putting it right on those little pegs, and just slipping on the bottom. And that looks great. So I can leave it just like this, cute little crate, but I decide I want to give it some feet, so I'll do that in a minute. This is where I make the thicker stain that I used at the end of my last DIY, and just a tad bit of water. I wanted this to have a darker gray look to it. And you can see when I put it on, it is much darker than the other stain. But when I wipe it off, look how pretty that is. That's a good one. That was a good stain. I do the bottom. You don't have to do the bottom, but you know how I like to do the bottom. I do the inside of this little handle so you don't see that. And again, you don't even have to do the inside. But as you know me, I will have to do the inside. And a lot of you have agreed with me that you like your projects to look finished, and you do the insides as well, the backs, the bottoms, all that good stuff. Now I'm just taking some paper or paper towel and just wiping off any excess. Now I'm using these Dollar Tree little square blocks. These are from the Crafter Square as well, and I'm just using that elephant paint, and I'm just going to use the same Gorilla super glue to glue those on. Now I could have just used hot glue, but that was already out, so that's what I used. but the hot glue would have been fine. And remember, if you are enjoying this video so far, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have not yet subscribed, I would love if you would. Okay, that is ready, and look how cute. And I was going to leave it just like this. So I got my Dollar Tree succulent, I got my Dollar Tree Spanish mouse, and I'm just going to throw that right inside. And I'm going to throw my succulent right on top, and that would be good to go after I take out these sticks that were in there. And that would be good to go. But once I did it, I thought it needed something more. But you could leave it just like that. Now, when I went to Dollar Tree recently, I was looking for that new ticking ribbon, and I could not find it, so I have to use the one that I have. I got this on sale, so it's about $1. But if you can find the one at Dollar Tree, even better. So I kind of measured it out, and I'm going to burn my edges so that the ribbon doesn't fray. And yeah, just make it so it's crispy when you touch it. Now I put a little hot glue, little dab, and then I will put my first part of the ribbon, wrap it around, but then I realized, you know what, I want to make sure that it stays. So I take a little bit of hot glue in every section, and I just put a little bit down. You don't need a lot, and that will hold it in place. And I made sure when I pulled it tight, that you wouldn't have any gaps. And a last bit of hot glue, and this is done. All I have to do is put my succulent at the top, and it's finished. I hope you like this DIY as much as I do.
A million people in the crowd, but I only see your face in all the lights. And as the bass keep pounding on me, baby, I really wanna make you mine. I don't really care about love, I don't really care about happy ever afters. Something about you gives me hope, something about you, yeah. When the sun goes down and the night sky's falling, do you believe in one-time lovers?
Okay, DIY number 3, fall SLAT sign and distressed pumpkin, which was a fail. Okay, so the first thing I did was I took that leftover side of the broken crate. Now remember, I had one slat left because I cut the one apart into thirds. So I am going to glue that on, and I'm just going to use a popsicle stick in the back so to hold them together. Now I'm going to make the base of my wood SLAT sign, and I'm just going to use a Dollar Tree tumbling block. Hot glue that in place, and what I like to do to make sure it stands up, I put it up first because I like to bend is not the right word. I'm trying to lean the sign back. Otherwise it'll just keep falling forward. So I like to give it like a little bit of a lean backwards. Now that that's ready to go, I'm going to paint it with my Waverly Chalk Paint in white. I'm doing the back right now, and then I'll flip it around to do the front. So just make sure you go around all the edges because you will be able to see those. You don't need to do the bottom edge, but yeah. So that's all I did there. I did give this whole sign one good coat. I did not go back for a second coat, but I just made sure that I covered it pretty well the first time that I painted it. And that's about it. Put that aside so it has time to dry. Now I'm going to take my jute cord from the Dollar Tree, and this was in the Crafter Square as well. This was a good quality. I like it. I now wrap it around because I want to see how far down I need to go, but I'm not going to glue it yet. Now I'm taking my Dollar Tree wood letters, and I'm going to spell out fall. Just so you know, those two L's are not actually L's. They were T's, and I cut off the ends. So I flipped them upside down and cut off the end of the one side of the T to make them into L's because I didn't have any L's. And every time I go back to the Dollar Tree, I cannot find those wooden letters. I always find the numbers, but not the letters. And I'm just going to hot glue those in place. Always start with the center of the letters. So I started with the A and the L, and then I will go back with the F and the other L. And that way you can always make sure it's centered. If you start at the front, it's really hard to space it, and then you might notice, uh-oh, I don't have enough room, or uh-oh, I have too much room once you get to the end of your word. And I just hot glued that on. Okay, so the hot glue worked just fine. You can again use something more permanent, but I was fine with this. And now that that part is done, I'm going to get ready to put on my jute twine. First I need to burn the fuzz off the twine, because you know that drives me crazy, even though this wasn't very yeah, it was fuzzy. I'm not gonna lie, it was fuzzy. I like to burn that right off. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, don't do it. And if you do decide to do it, just keep some water nearby. Never had a problem, but I do like to do that. Now I'm going to wrap around a nice big piece. I like to wrap it around 3 times. I tied a little bow in the front, and I'm cutting off any excess twine or jute cord or jute twine or whatever you want to call it, and that's done. But at this point I realized I didn't really think it fit in with the vignette, so I took my Waverly Chalk Paint in Elephant and my water and made another stain. I'm going to stain those letters just so they fit in, because I didn't really like them in the raw wood. I do like raw wood, the look of that, but not with the whole other vignette I was doing. So I go through and I give each of those letters a good coat. I do wipe them off, any excess, and then I go back and gave them another coat, because you can see there that this is pretty watered down, and so that, yeah, is a pretty light first coat. And I just go through all of my letters, and for my last letter. And this is done. So let's move on to my fail. Okay, so I took this lime green pumpkin from the Dollar Tree, and if you saw my recent haul from the Dollar Tree, getting all my fall items, you knew that I just didn't like this color for fall. It just doesn't go with my decor, so I knew I wanted to paint it. So I took some Waverly Chalk Paint in Elephant just to match the rest of the vignette, and I used that at the top where the stem is. Now I'm taking the Waverly Chalk Paint in white, and I'm going to give this a good coat. I do go back and give it another light coat of white, because you could see some of that lime green through there. And once I did that, I had to go fix up the stem again just to make sure that was straight. I did take off the little metal leaf that was on there, and I painted that the elephant as well, just because it was very shiny and it didn't go with the whole look of everything, and it was more of like a brown look. Okay, so this is where my fail is. I thought when I bought this that it was the paint marker. It ended up being the chalk marker. I bought 3 of them, all wrong. But the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you how I got the finished product. I thought it could work, but it literally was like putting lipstick on it. That's what it felt like. It was like almost like a lipstick pen. Did you ever use those lipstick marker pen things? Yeah, it was a really weird consistency, and it was not going right. So I decided to wipe it all off and go with a distress look. So I just wanted to show you what went wrong, and this is how I got to the end product. I do like how this turned out. That's why I wanted to show you it, and it looked really cute in the vignette. And I hope you like how both of these turned out. Let's take a look.
What you're putting in, all your hopes and efforts are all in vain. Who will pick you up when you've lost everything? Does it all become for granted with a wedding ring?
So here we are at the final reveal, my favorite part of the video. It's where we get to recap everything we just made. And here is the 3-drawer shelf. I love how this turned out. My daughter already claimed it for her room. It's so cute for trinkets or anything else. I just think it does not look like it's made from Dollar Tree items. Also, I did not waste any of that broken up crate, and you can see this little box planner. I love how that turned out. And last but not least, we have the little fall wooden slat sign. Everything looks so cohesive together, and I just really love how it all turned out. So you tell me in the comments below which one of these is your favorite. I think you know what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with the 3-drawer shelf. I absolutely love how that turned out. You tell me in the comments below which one is your favorite. And don't forget, please go check out my friend Jackie from Blessed Beyond Measure. Let her know I sent you, and thanks guys.
So that's it, that's the end of my video. I hope you liked everything you saw here today, and I hope it inspires you to make something of your own. If you have not checked me out at Instagram over at Cat Luna Designs, please do so. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, thanks for watching. Bye! Hi, welcome. Hi. Give this video a thumbs up, and as always, oh wait, no.